He flies every day, but he doesn't wear his seatbelt every time. But it was this habit that saved his life instead. Just as the girl snuggled up next to her boyfriend, a fighter plane suddenly roared. Then it collided directly with a civil aviation aircraft. A big hole was torn out of the fuselage at once. The powerful air currents in the sky instantly sucked the stewardess and passengers out. Because there was no sense of security, the girl was thrown around by a bumpy plane. Just as the airflow was about to suck her out of the cabin, her boyfriend caught her in time. But in the end, he couldn't resist the strong airflow and pulled up. Fortunately, he reacted quickly enough and grabbed the seat beside him. It didn't get thrown out by the airflow, but my boyfriend's side is not so lucky. The airflow instantly tore the plane in half and took him at the same time. Then the girl followed the other half of the fuselage and began to fall rapid. At this moment, he finally remembered the sense of security. He quickly tied it to his body. The rest can only be left to fate to decide. I just hope this seatbelt saves his life. Soon the plane was only a few tens of meters above the ground. Fortunately, his falling speed was slowing down at this time. A few seconds later, it smashed straight to the ground. But I didn't expect the girl to miraculously survive. By the time he woke up again, he was already in the woods. Although he narrowly escaped, but my calf was penetrated by plane fragments. Fortunately, the aorta was not injured this time. He tried to pull it out. However, the fragments were stuck too dead. Just move it a little bit. It made the girl almost faint in pain. But she knew she had to pull it out. So she made up her courage to try again. This time she tried her best to nurse. The shrapnel also slowly began to peel off from the calf. Finally, in bursts of heart-wrenching shouts, he was pulled out. Then the girl sat there and slowed down for a long time. He had just recovered from the pain he had experienced earlier. He quickly tore off a piece of the tube. First, I briefly bandaged the wound. Then he struggled to stand up and began to shout his boyfriend's name desperately, only to find that there is still a survivor in the back row. He ran forward excitedly. As a result, the opponent died tragically in the next second. It almost scared the girl out. He collapsed to the ground helplessly, and then slowly fell into a coma. After a long time, a mosquito awakened him from his coma. Then he heard the roar of the helicopter. It's a search and rescue team sent by the local government. The girl quickly tore off the scarf on the deceased. Then he immediately ran in the direction of the roar, ignoring the severe pain from the wound. After seeing the helicopter, he immediately waved the scarf in his hand. At the same time, he shouted loudly, but the helicopter flew straight over his head. Fortunately, an old man up there saw him, but the person in charge on the side thinks that there's no way there can be a survivor from a fall of 5,000 meters. That guy just now was probably a cook at a nearby campground. I wanted to say hello when I saw the helicopter. The girl just watched her only chance to live fly away overhead, but there is nothing to do. At the same time, ground personnel on the other side also began a large-scale search and rescue, but all the bodies were found without exception. There were no survivors. At this time, after the previous helicopter saw off the person in charge, decided to go back and look for it again. The captain felt that the man was not saying hello, but more like calling for help. They have family of their own, so I can understand the feelings of the families of the victims. Even if there is only a trace of hope, you can't give up. The girl's mother rushed to the airport immediately after receiving the notice, but the airport staff told her it was a car accident. Obviously, my daughter is flying on a plane. Is there anything hidden in this accident? Why do the staff deliberately hide it? At the same time, the girl on the other side has no intention of giving up. He wants to find the hijacking body where his boyfriend is. No matter what the outcome is, at least we have to know whether the other party is dead or alive. But at this moment, a tiger suddenly appeared in his field of vision. He tracked it all the way here based on the smell of blood. It's not hard to see that he's hungry now. Seeing this, the girl hurriedly retreated slowly. But one accidentally stepped on a branch on the ground. The sound instantly attracted the attention of the tiger. He seemed to be more interested in living girls than corpses. He was so frightened that he froze on the spot. Just when he thought he was going to lose his account, the helicopter showed up just in time. A huge roar instantly frightened the prison away. Although the girl successfully saved her life, but because of this, he passed by the helicopter again. He hadn't recovered from the shock he had just felt. At this moment, the wound began to ache dull. He took out his cigarette bag from his pocket.
I wanted to take a sip to ease my bad mood.
As a result, the cigarette had long been damaged in the accident. The girl was extremely angry, but she didn't expect that smoking a cigarette had become a luxury now. Just when he was at a loss, he inadvertently glanced at the branch in his hand. Then he fell into deep thought. The girl recalled that the plane was going to the east. At the time of the accident, my boyfriend was at the nose of the plane. This means that the direction of his fall should also be in the east. Although now in my own hands. No compass, but it doesn't matter. My boyfriend once taught him how to identify directions in the wild. That is to find a silver needle first, then rub it hard on the clothes to make it magnetic. Then put it on the floating leaves. Fortunately, there's a teddy bear here, and there was a silver needle on his button. Soon the girl used this method to determine the position. Then he filled some water from the box, then undressed the victim's clothes. In order to make it easier to move, the girl also turned high heels into flat shoes. Thus he limped off. But the sound of birds in the jungle also indicates that this journey will not be smooth. Before long, he saw a crashed wood. It seems that he is looking for the right direction. But not long after the girl was happy, just one accidentally fell into the mire. He began to struggle desperately. But the more you struggle, the deeper you get. Just when he didn't know what to do, suddenly I saw a small sapling in front of me. The girl seemed to have caught a life-saving straw. He used all his strength to grab the sapling. Fortunately, this sapling is still relatively strong. Before he was uprooted by the girl, he successfully got the opponent to climb up from the mud. But bad things always follow. Just as he finally limped up the hill, because the ground was too smooth, he accidentally rolled down again. Although there is nothing serious, but he had to climb again. For a girl with a calf injury, this is simply a folding object. just after he finally climbed up through all the hardships. As a result, I met the previous tiger again. The girl didn't understand why she was so unlucky. I thought I could sneak past him, but I didn't expect such a subtle movement to be noticed by the tiger. Without the help of the helicopter this time, he could only escape desperately. The tiger followed closely behind and chased after him. Seeing that he was about to be caught up with him, the girl stumbled and fell into a deep pit. It took him a long time to wake up from his coma. After he struggled to stand up, he quickly looked around. Fortunately, no tiger was found. Just when the girl thought she was saved, the tiger suddenly appeared. He quickly hid to the side. Fortunately, this guy was blind and didn't notice him. Then, the girl found a lighter on the road. With himself, he finally doesn't have to suffer from hunger anymore. More importantly, you can have a small cigarette. Immediately afterwards, he used the canned food he found to replenish his strength. At the same time, the person in charge on the other side also successfully found the perpetrator. It stands to reason that general troops will notify civil aviation when they have a flight mission, thereby avoiding their respective routes. But not this time. As a result, the pilot accidentally crashed into a civil aviation plane while flying as originally planned. Once this low-level mistake is made public, that will have a huge negative impact on the military. So they chose to hide the truth of the matter for the time being. At this time, the girl on the other side finally found the mailer after all kinds of hardships. Her heart was full of expectation, because she always believes that her boyfriend must still be alive. No matter how much trouble she encountered, she could always find a solution. So she definitely wouldn't die so easily. But the girl had to cross this fast-flowing river first. But just a few steps out, she was washed into the water. Fortunately, he is lucky and lucky. In the end, he successfully saved the day and climbed to the shore. The blood on the chicken's head also represents the seriousness of the matter. Then when the girl searched for supplies inside, she unexpectedly found a signal. Gun! He immediately loaded the bullet and fired it repeatedly into the sky. But the search and rescue team was not nearby at this time, so I can't see it at all. Just as he was about to hit the second round, he thought of this in time, so he put the bullet back. It's not too late to launch when we meet the search and rescue team. At this moment, the temperature suddenly dropped sharply. He was shivering with the cold. The girl found a pile of dry branches and wanted to make a fire to keep warm. But the lighter failed because it was soaked in water for a long time. He knew that he would freeze to death here sooner or later, so he picked up the plastic bag on the side and put it on his head. This can reduce the loss of heat very well. He fell into a deep sleep. At this time, the parents of the two people on the other side also rushed to the scene of the accident one after another. However, this place has long been fortified by the troops, and irrelevant personnel are forbidden. Get to know through the girl's father and the leader above. If you find him, you will know the truth of the matter. But now, even getting in has become a difficult problem. At this moment, the boy's mother had a bold idea. That is to rush directly through the checkpoint. When the soldiers saw this, they immediately chased after them. But they underestimated the lady's driving skills. I couldn't catch up with the headquarters, even though I got to the headquarters. Fortunately, the relationship is strong enough, and the soldiers are no longer embarrassed. The man understood their current mood, so he introduced him to the person in charge.
Because it was that time, isn't it?
I got up at 11 o'clock.
So the forehead is as thin as 10 years old.
Hearing this, parents couldn't help it any longer.
But 9 years ago, when we were 5.
You said in 1998.
What about the others? Then the others don't know anything.
Embrace it. He was more than someone who could possibly do it.
They simply don't want to believe this fact in front of them. As long as you haven't seen the body, everything will be returned. It is hoped that the person in charge said that the search and rescue team will try its best to find it. After seeing everyone off, he revealed to the man that the helicopter search and rescue team had previously found a girl.
My brother won't be great either.
Vocal alligativa mahala.
You have -69.
Hearing this, the person in charge suddenly realized, quickly sent a helicopter to carry out rescue. At the same time, the girl on the other side found a backpack on the tree. When he took it down, he realized that it was actually his boyfriend's. There is also a portrait of himself in it. The more he saw this, the more sad he became. Every bit of the past was so beautiful. This accident broke all this. Unwilling, she put on her boyfriend's backpack and set off again. It didn't take long for her to discover the other party. When the girl saw it, she couldn't wait to climb to the deep pit. He didn't care about the injury on his cuff. After coming down, she immediately hugged her boyfriend.
Willing to go. This is where my heart will be destroyed.
I've got it. Girl, can you borrow my son-in-law?
I thought I could go back with my boyfriend soon. But when he turned his head, he only found a cold corpse. He burst into tears, unwilling to believe the fact before him. But soon he pulled himself together. My boyfriend in the sky must also hope that he can live well with her. Then he began to crawl up desperately. At this time, the search and rescue team was also looking for him everywhere. The girl shouted loudly, but how small his voice seemed in the rain. What's even worse is that this deep pit is very smooth now. He falls every time he climbs up. But fortunately, the man on the other side noticed the signal flare he had placed earlier. When you smell the smell above, he was convinced that the other party must be attaching. Jin quickly shouted loudly. At this moment, the girl finally climbed up. After she came up, she didn't dare to delay in the slightest. He quickly installed the signal flare with trembling hands, launched into the sky with a last glimmer of hope. Everyone immediately noticed the energy wave. After 3 days of arduous journey, he finally succeeded in breaking the rescue. Seeing this, you may think that it is impossible to survive the plane crash, but it's a true story. August 24, 1981, a civil airliner and a military aircraft of the former Soviet Union accidentally collided and crashed at an altitude of 5,000 meters. This woman is the only survivor, but this matter has been deliberately covered up. It wasn't until many years later that it was unlocked. She also received huge compensation for this, although she later got married and had children. But whenever she is interviewed by reporters, she will think of her white moonlight. Every time I unconsciously shed tears, how happy they used to be. If I had a sense of security at that time, it might have ended differently.